Hello. Imagine a man living his entire life in a single room in Naples, Italy. Poor, obscure, ignored by the intellectual elites of his age, yet capable of diagnosing with terrifying accuracy the psychological burnout of modern civilization. Hello and welcome to Interpreting Tradition. Giambattista Vico, 1668 to 1744. He never ruled a country, he never led a revolution or commanded an army. And yet he understood something far more enduring than power itself, the cultural foundations that make power possible. Long before modern sociology, long before psychology, long before the culture wars, Vico identified the invisible forces, myth, memory, religion, shared memories of a culture, the shared imagination that govern human behavior more deeply than laws and logic or reason ever could. This is why he belongs in this series, Architects of Power, the men behind the throne. In episode 1, we saw Richelieu of France, the power as the centralized state. In episode 2, we saw Zwingly and Knox, John Knox of Scotland, power through religious revolt. Today, with Vico, we reach something, I think, deeper still. Not the exertion of power, nor rebellion against it, against power, but the cultural soil from which all power grows. He was an outsider. Vico was born on June 23rd, 1668, in Naples, the son of a poor bookseller. His family lived in a single crowded room above the shop. At the age of seven, yes, he suffered a catastrophic fall from a ladder, fracturing his skull. Doctors believed that he would either die or be left impaired, cognitively impaired. He survived, but after 3 years of isolation and recovery, it took a while. And he later wrote that this injury permanently detached him from the world. It shaped he said, his melancholy, inward, and intensely studious nature. Vico became, in his own words, an outsider to his age, someone who we know now could see the hidden gears of history that others never noticed. Though he attended Jesuit schools and studied at the University of Naples, he was largely self-taught. In 1694, he earned a doctorate in jurisprudence and soon after withdrew into near isolation as a tutor for the Rocca family in Batola. There, far from intellectual fashion, he read obsessively classics, law, philology, mythology. In 1699, he was appointed professor of rhetoric at the University of Naples, a very poorly paid post. that he would hold for most of his life. He repeatedly sought the more prestigious chair of jurisprudence, but he was repeatedly denied. Vico lived and died intellectually marginal. But from this marginality, from those people who are always looking from outside, emerged a vision of history that no one else possessed. I'm going to walk you through it. He said, verum factum, what humans truly know. At the heart of Vico's thought is it sounds like a very simple idea, but like, like so many things, it is deceptively simple only. He wrote, verum esse ipsum factum. The true is precisely what is made. What is that? What does that mean? All right. Humans do not truly understand nature because we did not make nature. God did. But we did make history. We made law. We made language. We made institutions. We made societies. Therefore, society is not a divine blueprint handed down from heaven, obviously. It is not either a purely rational construct discovered by philosophers. It is a human creation, shaped by humans, shaped by imagination, fear, ritual, memory, and belief long before reason ever enters the scene. This insight becomes the foundation of his masterpiece, the Scienza Nuova, written in 1725, the new science, the new architecture of history. Vico proposes a radical theory. It may not seem radical now because he was rediscovered, he was forgotten and then rediscovered in the 19th century and the 20th. And then many philosophers took, sometimes misrepresenting him and so on, as usually happens. But this is what he said. History moves in cycles. By cycle, he doesn't mean a circle going round and round and round and round. It's more like spiral. He called it corsi e ricorsi, resets. Yes, so not a cycle. In other words, with every turn, we still keep something of what came before. Okay, so history moves in cycles, spirals. Human societies, he suggested, pass through 3 ages. Now we are here in metaphorical, allegorical, poetic language, but you do understand what he means. First, the age of gods. Power through fear, thunder, ritual, religion, Homer, all that, yeah? Then that moves to the age of heroes. Power through aristocracy, honor, myth, noble violence. Aristocracy, you remember, meant the best, the ones who had most merit originally. Noble. Don Quixote belongs to kind of this age, yeah? And then that moves on to the age of men. Power through reason, law, equality, rational discourse. This is the age we're in now. Yeah, you could even put democracy there. Yeah. Okay. But here's the twist. Each age carries the seeds of its own destruction. Each age carries the seeds of its own destruction. He called it, this age of ours, the barbarism of reflection. Reflection meaning rationality, reason, only reason, logic. Vico's true warning is reserved for the his warning is reserved for the final stage. In the ages of men, in this last cycle, societies believe themselves superior to all other ages because they are rational, enlightened, scientific, logical. But Vico saw this confidence as a fatal illusion. When reason becomes absolute, and the most important thing, deriding everything else is superstition. When reason becomes absolute, when it destroys myth and faith and shared memories and shared imagination, it dissolves, actually, the very social glue that holds the civilization together. What emerges is not enlightenment, but what Vico called the barbarism of reflection. This is a society of clever, very clever, analytical, hyper-individualistic people who can no longer trust one another. A society full of laws, but empty of loyalty, full of intelligence, but devoid of wisdom. Unlike early barbarians, who were violent out of ignorance or necessity, unlike them, modern barbarians are cruel. Not necessarily violent all the time, cruel through calculation, using intellect as a weapon. We're talking about the 17th century here, okay? When he wrote this. Vico predicted cities filled with people living physically close. He called it tentacle cities, but spiritually isolated, hiding malice behind politeness and procedural language. His words are existing in deep solitude of spirit, hiding malice behind polite embraces. Incredibly, he wrote this in the early 18th century. Now, providence, faith, and the last remedy. Vico was a devout Catholic, and this is essential to understand him. He believed history is guided by divine providence, not by suspending human freedom, but by using divine providence, God using human selfishness, human failures to produce unintended social goods. Families, laws, states, these emerge not because humans are virtuous necessarily, but because providence bends vice toward order. Yet when a civilization becomes too clever, too ironic, too cynical, too detached from piety, it eventually reaches, he said, a breaking point. This is the moment when power loses control because the foundation, the culture, has rotted away. And now Vico introduces what he called the last remedy of providence. The last remedy could be collapse. In his day, well, civil war of a plague or whatever. Some major disaster, disintegration. But this is not necessarily punishment, only punishment, but understand it, mercy, a reset, a forced return to simplicity, to faith, and to mutual trust. Only through suffering does humanity rediscover what it forgot. Now, the Catholic Church and the carrying the cross of history. Unlike pagan civilizations, trapped endlessly in cycles, or circles, actually, Vico believed the church occupies a unique role. Though divinely founded, of course, the church exists in history as a human institution. Human, only to human. Yeah, we know that. And therefore, it's not there, unsoiled, up on a hill, untouched by looking at humanity. Oh, look at humanity going down that rabbit hole. Oh, if only they would look at me. No. As, therefore, a human institution shares humanity's vices, failures, and sufferings. When society descends into the barbarism of reflection, the church is representing humanity, is going to descend with it. But this descent is not a defeat. She has to carry that cross. She has to be there doing the suffering as humanity does. In order then, through the secret, he called it the secret hand of providence, come out of the tunnel and lead humanity again out of the tunnel. But he has to go through it herself. So this descent is not defeat. It is the cross. She has to help carry that cross. For Vico, the church carries civilization through collapse precisely by enduring the same sufferings as humanity, enduring humiliation, loss of prestige, apparent failure. Her suffering strips away pride and forces a return to lived faith. The church is the constant. We know not triumphant, we call it militant. Vico calls it the constant. By enduring, through which providence ensures that history never ends in extinction, only in rebirth. Now, it's about the Catholic Church. It's quite an interesting view. I actually happen to agree with it. But the legacy of his thought and how he was misinterpreted, it always happens afterwards. He died in 1744, poor and largely forgotten, of course. His influence emerged only later, shaping thinkers as diverse as James Joyce, Croce, Marx, Gramsci. They were not going to copy his ideas. They are certainly going to ignore the divine providence and God and so on, but they're going to take bits and pieces of his thought and then remake them and take them in a different direction. But I'm going to point them out. Modern readers, however, of course, misinterpret him. They seize on his insights about language and construction, but they discard providence, faith, and moral order. Ironically, Vico would see these very misreading. He would have seen it as actual, not misinterpretation, but actual confirmation of his theory. He spoke of the conceit of scholars, projecting their own assumptions onto the past. Even distortion, he believed, serves providence, keeping ideas alive until a future age is ready to understand them again. Giambattista Vico understood something most rulers never do. To govern people, you do not need a sword, you do not even need laws. What you need is their imagination, their shared memory, their myths, rituals, fears, and hopes. Power does not begin in palaces or parliaments. It begins in what he called the deep past, in religion and culture. And when culture rots, power collapses. No matter how rational, no matter how enlightened or sophisticated it believes itself to be. Vico saw it coming. The only question he leaves us with is this: are we still capable of remembering what once made us human? Or are we already living in the barbarism of reflection? Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.